Hey guys, I hope you guys are doing amazing today. In another video. So in this video, I'm going to try to make it very short and sweet. I don't want to make it too long, so hopefully let's just hope and pray that it's a short video, okay? Because I've got a lot of things to do today, and so yeah. Anyways, but I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves really well as always, which you should be doing, right? Especially now, right? Especially now at this time. But anyway, so guys, I wanted to discuss your soulmate, okay? And um, for those of you that have awakened, right, and for the chosen ones, you already know how essential it is for you to have the right people around you, right? To have the right influences around you that are going to make your life better, that are going to add to your life, and that are going to um, make you into an even better person, which you probably already are, okay? But your soulmate is going to make you an even better person. And so it is important to recognize who they are, right? And of course, the way to do that is the first and foremost way of doing that is to be in touch with your emotions. And what that means is you have to step away from your delusions, right? Because it all ultimately goes down, or connecting to the divine or to your soul goes down to your emotions. It comes down to your emotions. Like narcissists, for example, they choose to live in delusions, right? And what that means is that they ignore their emotions, right? And so they do things because they're cool. They do things because they make the narcissist seem cool and come off in a certain way. So they don't care about their emotions. They deny them. Okay, so they can be in a very lucrative job, right? And as long as it's making them look good in front of others, right? That's all they care about. They don't care about how they're feeling, right? Because they're disconnected from their emotions. So in turn, they dissociate from their emotions. And in turn, they cannot be connected to the divine. They cannot connect to their soul, right? Because having a soul or being connected to our soul actually connects us to the divine. It also connects us to our purpose, and it connects us to our own identity, right? And so that's why it's so essential and important, right? And so that's why, for example, the narcissist in you, you guys are going to be speaking another language, right? One that, you know, you might be able to understand the narcissist, but the narcissist will never understand you. And it's not just about narcissists also, it's about a lot of people who are disconnected from their soul in general. And of course, not everyone is a narcissist, right? But someone without an identity, right? They're going to be and if we are driven by narcissists, which we are for the most part in this society, okay, someone without an identity or someone who is not connected to their soul, they're going to be turned into a narcissist, even if they're not, okay? So there's the danger of that, right? Because they're going to take on the identity of a narcissist, okay, in order to fit in, okay, in order to have an identity, right? So people without an identity, guys, they cling to anything and basically to anything. Why? That's why there's the star culture, right? That's why we have stars. They're the ones creating the identity for all of the lost souls that are disconnected from themselves, okay? And so that's why, your typical average people who are disconnected from their souls, who are lost, they're going to copy what the stars do, what the stars wear, how the stars eat, what the stars are doing to their bodies, which ultimately is actually completely misleading and completely damaging, and it's taking you even farther away from your true self, okay? So there's that, right? And so be careful who you follow, be careful who you allow to influence you, right? But anyways, let's go back to your soulmate. Well, sorry, I got way off tangent as always. You guys know me, I like to do this, right? But anyways, but let's go back to your soulmate, right? And how would you recognize your soulmate? First and foremost, right, you have to be connected to your emotions. You have to be connected to your soul. And that's how you can recognize them, okay? Because when you look into the eyes of your soulmate, you will recognize them right away, okay? You will be like astonished, okay? You will look into their eyes, and just this one look, okay, it will tell you all that you need to know. You will stare into their eyes and you will not want to look away, and you will feel like you just found them. You found them in another body, but in this lifetime, right? And you will feel like they're your best friend. You will feel extremely comfortable around them. You will feel so comfortable around them that you will want to hug them and say hi to them, and you don't even know this person, you know? That's how it feels, okay? With a narcissist, it's actually the complete opposite, okay? Something will completely repel, or not even a narcissist, but someone that's a karmic, right? They will repel you. You will want to get away from them. You will want to, you might meet them, right? And then you might like go out, and you will just not want to be with them again. You might not want to see them again, right? And so something will always be kind of like pulling you, like your mind might be like talking you into that relationship, like come on, give it a try, get to know them, right? uh, they're not that bad, right? And you don't want to be lonely, or so your thoughts will be like, okay, your rational mind might try to rationalize you into that relationship with that person who you know is wrong for you, right? But your heart and your soul will be guiding you away from them, okay? You will be repelled by them, and something in them is not going to seem right, okay? So I've done this, guys, 2 times in my former relationships, okay? With two narcissists, right? Where I just told them, like, after a week, right? I was like, no, listen, I'm sorry, you're not for me, okay? I don't want to be dating you. I don't want to date you. I don't want to continue this, right? And so I broke it off, right? But once again, they tried to come into my life again, right? After like a week or two, after some time, right? They always try to get back into my life. And that's how they got me, right? Like I was a bit weak at that time, right? And so I went for it, okay? If something is repelling you away from someone, then it's not the right person. Just trust your gut, listen to your gut, and don't try to rationalize yourself into that relationship, okay? It's just not gonna work, okay? Anyways, also, yeah, like I said, the eyes are the window to your soul, right? With the narcissist, you're gonna look into their eyes, there's not gonna be much there. There's actually, they lack emotions, right? And so you will see this in their eyes too. The eyes are the window to your soul, right? And so their eyes, a person who is connected to their soul, guys, their eyes are going to change, okay? With spiritual awakening, by the way, your eyes definitely change too. They become brighter, more lively, okay? So that means like it's in a sense that's how it is, right? When you're spiritually awakened, welcome to life. You are alive again. You're like a kid. You're like a kid again, and you will experience life as if you're a kid again, as if you're a child. You know, when you got disconnected from your soul along the way, right? You probably can feel um, everything almost turned gray, right? Your energy lowered, right? And you felt terrible. You were probably depressed, anxious, right? And you felt like you were dead, which you are without your soul. You need to be connected to your soul. You need to have your soul or that connection, right, in order to feel alive, okay? And so that's the thing, right? Like most people nowadays, right, in our society, they're dead basically, okay, because they're disconnected from their soul. And that's why, like, for example, also when you awaken, you can see who those people are. You can feel it, right? And so you will um, sense the energy of people that are disconnected from their souls and that are in turn kind of dead, right? Spiritually speaking, right? And so, yeah, just because we're physically alive, guys, doesn't mean that we're spiritually alive. That's not how it works, you know. So, uh, a narcissist will be like a dead person, okay, walking, like a dead person walking, right? they're not thinking for themselves, they don't have their own identity, that's what they're going to try to take on yours. So watch for that too. Someone who is your soulmate, they're not gonna try to dress like you and be like you because they already have their own identity, so they don't need to steal yours, you know. So watch out for that too. If someone starts dressing like you, acting like you, that means they're trying to take on your persona because they don't have their own, and that's because they don't have that connection to their soul, you know. So yeah yeah, like I said, the soulmate will feel like your best friend, you know, and you're gonna feel so comfortable around them. You're gonna feel good. While with the narcissist, you might not feel too much around them. You might not sense any emotions, right? Someone who is a soulmate and someone who is connected to their emotions, they might feel like a hurricane sometimes too, okay? Because they're like a hurricane of emotions, right? I know that around my soulmate, I felt very um, at that time, you know, I felt very like I already mentioned this in one of my videos. I felt like he was like a child, you know, because his emotions were all over the place, and he didn't feel too. Sometimes at times he didn't feel too like um, comfortable necessarily to be around because he was very emotional, and I could feel that hurricane of emotions inside of him, you know. So there was that, right? But it's okay. It doesn't mean that they can't calm those emotions, right? It's just a matter of like learning how to handle them, right? And we were still like very young, you know, at the time. So like I wasn't as aware, he wasn't as aware, you know, and so yeah, that can happen too, right? But you shouldn't be feeling nothing with the person. If there's like, if you don't feel anything next to them, right? And you're like an empath, then that's an issue. That means that there's a disconnect there, right, within them. Okay, and so you're not feeling anything. And yeah, it can feel very comfortable, comforting, but it's not. It really isn't, you know. um let's see, they also, your soulmate will make you better, you know. They want you to become a better person. They want you to, they will call out your bullshit basically, you know. So if you're being unkind, they will tell you you're being unkind, you know. They want you to grow as a person, right? So while the other side, right, or your enemy, right, so if you're gonna go into a karmic relationship, right, they're going to be like your enemy basically, and they are in spirit, they are your enemy, right? So you have to go into a relationship with someone who is equally yoked, especially now, or don't, or stay out of relationships period, you know. Because the enemy will try to influence you in a negative way, right? They're going to try to take you off path. They're going to try to steal your essence. They're going to try to mislead you, misguide you. Okay, so you're going to be sleeping with an enemy basically, right? And this person is going to do everything in their power to throw you off course, to throw you off balance. They're going to try to make you into an empty shell that eventually they're going to discard, right, when they're done with you. And so you don't want that, right? That's why you have to be with someone who is equally yoked. That means someone who is connected to their soul too. And it has nothing to do with religion too, guys, okay? Because a lot of religious people can be completely disconnected, right? They found that identity in the church, right? Or in Christ, right? And so they're saying they're Christian, they're saying they're religious, but they're not really, you know. In essence, they're not. They're still lacking that like uh, connection to source, and in turn connection to the divine, to God, right? So they're not really godly, okay? They just found an identity within the church, or within religion, Christianity perhaps, right? So always watch out for that. Just because a person says that they're Christian doesn't mean that they're necessarily are. And you will feel this, you will know this. If you're connected to the divine, to yourself, to your soul, then you will know another spiritual person when you see one, you know. Oh yeah, just to give you guys a story, right? There's this guy, right, in one of the stores that we go to, in one of the coffee shops, right? And he's definitely connected, right? And so is his wife. Like their whole family, right, is. And so it's funny because like the conversations that you have with people like this, right, with awakened people, they're completely different, you know. And they don't like small talk. They just tell you like, oh, this guy's like, oh, like, he just comes up to me and he's like, oh, your son is operating in two different worlds, you know? And and I'm like, yeah, like telling this to like your average person would be completely insane. The average person, like who is not connected, right, to the divine or their soul, they would look at you like you're insane, right? And I told the guy, well, yeah, yeah, I am, me too, right? And so that's okay. That's like, I understand that. I can see that. Yeah, that's that's true, you know? And the guy just looks at me like, yeah, you know? And so we just continue chatting, you know, about, I don't know, he told me that, you know, most people are not like you and me, right? They're, you know, they're like zombies, basically. They're, you know, like fillers, right? There's a theory, right, that's going around that basically it tells us that it, most people that you will meet in your lifetime are fillers, right? They don't like, they're like non-player NPCs, I guess, non-player characters, right? And they're not like they're like soulless beings, right? Basically, I don't buy this theory, guys. Okay, I don't believe this. Okay, because I think they're either younger souls, right, which means they probably cannot evolve in this lifetime, right? B, they're just simply disconnected at this time, right? Because you probably remember being there yourself, right? So maybe you are kind of like that soulless being too, right? You, because you were disconnected from your soul, and so you were going the wrong way, right? So you were misled, you were in the dark, right? Or although not entirely, right? Perhaps because perhaps you're an older soul, right? And so my theory is that, you know, like I said, that's what it is, right? And I think some souls could awaken at this time because they're just older souls. Uh, they've gone through enough reincarnations, right? So they came back and you know, they once again, someone is looking into my window. That's so weird. Every time I make these videos, someone looks into my window. It's very strange. Anyways, but Agent Smith, man. No, I'm just joking. Well, who knows? Maybe, right? They say it could be like a monitoring spirit, right? Which could be true. But anyways, um, so, you know, in a sense, you know, like I agree with what this guy said, you know, but I do not think that, you know, yes, there are people that are disconnected from your soul. They're not like you because their consciousness is very, it's very limited, right? They do not have the capabilities of really thinking beyond their ego, right? Basically, so these people are kind of like stuck in their ego, right? And they don't speak the same language as that of a person who has awakened and that is connected to their soul and to the divine, right? And so that's what kind of sets them apart, right? It's their, of course, energy too, right? And their expanded consciousness, right? And so they're limited in a sense, and so their energy also, you know, is very much lower than that of a person who has awakened, right? And so they're not vibrating at the same level. And there's that difference, right? But I do not think that they're necessarily like, they're just, like I said, they're just disconnected. If they were to connect to their soul, right, then they would awaken also. They would have the, you know, they can awaken. So there's that, right? So in a sense what he said is kind of true, right, that they're different, but it doesn't mean that they will never awaken in this lifetime, that they will never find their way, right, to source, right? It doesn't mean that they will never connect to their soul and to source. They can, right? And I think that's the ultimate goal, right? uh, so yeah, and he told me this, right? This guy told me this in the store, right? He said this, I mean, in his coffee shop, and I was like, well, I don't think that they're different, right? So he had, perhaps he had another theory about this, right? but this guy is very much awake and aware, and I told him, I think these people are just simply disconnected. They're lost souls, and yeah, it is possible to be a lost soul in the 3D world. Ascension, right? Connecting to your soul is all about moving into getting, waking up and evolving past the 3D matrix, right, and into the 5D, right, and uh, yeah, and the only way to do that is to move beyond your ego, right, and to heal, right, and to connect to your emotions and to acknowledge the truth that's that you've been trying to run away from, so there's that, right. And so yeah, anyways, but let's go back to the soulmate, right. They also point out so many good qualities about you, right? So if you're resourceful, they'll tell you that. If you're kind, they'll tell you that. If you're loving, they'll tell you that. Okay, so they'll really make you feel good about yourself. They'll point out your positive qualities and they'll admire them, and they'll even tell you like, you inspire me to be a better person. While the other side, right, the other half, the karmic side, they will put you down. They will most likely be jealous of you, okay? They'll be in competition with you, and they'll put you down over every little thing because they're extremely insecure. So, by making you insecure too, first of all, they don't think you're gonna stay with them, right? And so they're going to try to destroy your self esteem so you would stay with them, okay? And so that means they will like make fun of your looks, they'll point down your physical attributes, they're going to tell you that your this is bad, your that is bad, right? You're too fat, you're too skinny, I don't know, whatever, right? But they're always going to try to tell you you're lazy, they're going to try to tell you you're whatever, right. Well, it can be anything, but they're trying to manipulate you into staying with them, basically, because their self-esteem is extremely low, so they want you to feel just as bad as them, so there's that, right. And so yeah, and your other side, your other half, they're really excited when you succeed, right? They're excited when you propel forward, when you develop yourself, right? In fact, they're probably going to join you. They're going to go along and they're going to join you because they're also looking for growth. They're looking to evolve. And so they're going to try to evolve with you, So if you're trying something new, they're probably going to be interested in it too. They're going to want to try that thing too, And so that's the beauty about soulmates, right? Is that you guys learn together, you grow together, you support one another, you don't bring each other down, right? There might be competition, but it's healthy competition, and it's really if one of you is like falling behind, the other one will give you their hand, right, and say, hey, come on, let's do it, I got you, right. He'll pick you back up or she'll pick you back up, right. And so yes, that's why you see so much chaos in this world over males and females, right, because most people are disconnected from their soul, and so they're not in a relationship for the right reasons. They're in a relationship to gain something. They're in a relationship to gain something, right? Women might be after the money, right, and status, while guys might be after the hottest thing that's out there, right, or your looks, right, or your status too, right. And so um, yeah, lost souls, they do a lot of very destructive things, not just to themselves, but to one another, right? And so it's a very sad thing because they're operating from their wounded selves, right? And in turn, of course, they're going to attract, right? So if you're still wounded, right, you're going to attract another wounded person, because well, first of all, a healed person is not going to want to be with a wounded person because they've been there, they've done that, right? They don't want to be a therapist anymore, right? And they know that someone who is wounded is going to ultimately try to destroy them and all of the work that they've done on themselves, right? So a healed individual is not going to be with a wounded individual, okay? They're going to run very fast and very far from an individual like that, and yeah, while a wounded individual has a lot of work to do because they're also ultimately going to attract on a subconscious level who they don't want. Okay, consciously they might want a healed individual, right? But subconsciously they're going to attract who they think they deserve, right? So they need to get down. They need to address that too. Anyways, guys, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to say anything else. Um, yeah, but like I said, your soulmate, and once you're connected to the divine, and for all of you chosen ones, you will know who your soulmate is. It will be like easy peasy, okay? You look into their eyes, and you're not going to want to look away. Those eyes are going to like uh, the eyes of an individual who has awakened. They're beautiful. They're pure, right? It's not like going to. It's not gonna feel like you're looking into the eyes of the devil, right? Or someone who's like staring at you, right? Like with those like predator eyes, right? It's not gonna feel like this. So it's actually pretty easy. It's simple. You're going to recognize each other, and you're going to feel like this person is your best friend, and you don't even know them, like at least in this lifetime, right? So yeah, and you know what, guys, tis the season to find your soulmate. Tis the season to get your blessings, and your blessings aren't always financial. They're also, they're also they come in the form of like peace and healing and happiness and joy and other people, relationships, right? Maybe finding a best friend, getting pregnant with your soulmate, or soul child, right? So yeah, blessings aren't always financial. Okay, just remember that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys, and please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Check out my awesome courses. Check out my children's book. Check out my healing guide. Okay, book. I have so many books. I have lots of courses for you. Okay, so check them out. Okay, they're amazing, and they're done from my heart. Okay, guys, to you. Okay, so driven by the divine. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and thank you guys all for subscribing to my channel too. All right, I love you guys so much, and stay tuned for more videos.